The Premier's point is that he is not, like you characterize many of your opponents on the carbon tax, against the issue of mitigating climate change, that he takes it very seriously. But at the same time, people in Newfoundland and Labrador and many of the other provinces in which this carbon tax applies are dealing with a high rate of inflation, high interest rates, and he's simply asking your government to pause the increase until interest rates go down and inflation stabilizes. Respectfully, Minister, do Canadians actually see that it's working? The Auditor General pointed out that your government has not attached a specific emissions reductions target to the price on carbon, that you have not produced evidence. NDP proved, the NDP Premier of Manitoba said the same thing. The people associated with the provincial NDP in both Saskatchewan and Alberta have raised the same concerns. Now your Liberal colleague is also calling into a question exactly what you're trying to argue. Even the Parliamentary Budget Officer has said when you take into account all the indirect costs, slightly more Canadians are worse off than better off because of the carbon tax. Again, then to a domestic issue, because you have been also one of the ministerial leads when it comes to the government's agenda to address the cost of living. The Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, a Liberal, Andrew Furey, is now today calling on your government to pause the increase to the carbon tax slated for April the 1st. Will you consider that?
Listen, I like Premier Furey. I've known him for a long time, but I think we have been very clear that a price on pollution is the right thing to do. It brings more money in the pocket of Canadians. That vision, that approach has been clear from the start. The Prime Minister has been clear. I hear his voice, but I think that, you know, we have a plan to fight climate change. We have been clear with Canadians all along. And honestly, I think that Canadians understand that. The plan is working. It's going to bring more money in the pockets of Canadians. And we're going to continue to do that because, you know what, this is an investment in the future. This is an investment that has allowed us also to attract investment in Canada because people see these Canadians are serious about fighting climate change. So I would be happy to engage with Premier Furey. I'll see him soon. But I can tell you we're going to continue to do what's right for the country, not only now, but for the future.
Minister, though, the Premier's point is that he is not, like you characterize many of your opponents on the carbon tax, against the issue of mitigating climate change, that he takes it very seriously. But at the same time, people in Newfoundland and Labrador and many of the other provinces in which this carbon tax applies are dealing with a high rate of inflation, high interest rates, and he's simply asking your government to pause the increase until interest rates go down and inflation stabilizes. Why won't you at least consider that? Are you so ideologically wedded to it that you can't listen to the premiers who are saying it is adding to the burden of the cost of living for the people who live in their provinces?
Listen, I understand the issue around cost of living, Vashi. I've been the one with colleagues who have been fighting all along to make sure that life is more affordable for Canadians. I took on, for example, the grocery sector and the big chains to make sure that people can afford grocery. I keep on that fight. I'm going to even bring that at the G7 meeting that I'm going this evening to make sure that we start seeing competition issues, making sure that life is more affordable. I get that. You know, I come from rural Canada. I know that people talk to me. But at the same time, people that I meet in the street understand that we need also to be fighting climate change, that the price on pollution is the best way. It's been tested. To make sure that, you know, we have the right framework to make sure that we drive the right behavior, but at the same time, that we send the money back in the pocket of Canadians. So,
respectfully, Minister, do Canadians actually see that it's working? The Auditor General pointed out that your government has not attached a specific emissions reductions target to the price on carbon, that you have not produced evidence. NDP proved, the NDP Premier of Manitoba said the same thing. The people associated with the provincial NDP in both Saskatchewan and Alberta have raised the same concerns. Now your Liberal colleague is also calling into a question exactly what you're trying to argue. Even the Parliamentary Budget Officer has said when you take into account all the indirect costs, slightly more Canadians are worse off than better off because of the carbon tax. Again, why are you so ideologically wedded to it that you can't just wait until inflation stabilizes and press pause for a moment?
Listen, it's not about ideology. It's about the planet. Vashi, I'd say that the fact that we have a plan to fight climate change has brought billions of investment in this country. People understand, you know, we set ourselves to be the green supply of choice to the world, whether it's green aluminum, green steel, green batteries, green semiconductor. That's what we're known for. This has attracted investment and make sure that, you know, we position Canada as a leader in the world, and decarbonizing industries is a trend. Look in Alberta. We have Heidelberg, for example. We're going to have the first green cement plant in the world. Dow Chemical decided to put their plant in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. Why? Because they want to have the greenest polyethylene plant in the world. So that system is working. It's bringing money in the pockets of Canadians. And I think the vast majority of Canadians agree that we need to keep on and fighting climate change. It's the right thing to do for the planet. It's the right thing to do for our kids. And we can do it in a sensible way, making sure that we drive the right behavior that gives money back in the pockets of Canadians. I respect my colleagues. You know, I talk with all the premiers in Canada, for sure. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we take the right decision for now, but also for the future of this nation.
Very quickly, Minister, you're standing in Washington, D.C. Your government has hailed the climate policy of this White House administration as incredibly serious. It is also attracting the investment that you talk about, and it is doing so without a consumer carbon tax. Again, why not consider?
Well, I would say what has been attracting investment in Canada is the talent of our people. It's the ecosystem we have, whether it's the aerospace industry, in the natural resources, and I was just in Calgary a few days ago. It's the critical minerals we have and the proximity. Well, listen, I think that, well, I mean, there's different things. In a sense, they see that we are serious on fighting climate change, but you were asking me broadly, how do we attract investment? Is our people, it's the fact that we have ecosystem, we have the critical mineral, renewable energy, and access to market. And the fact that they see Canada as the, listen, I was giving you the example of South Carolina. Imagine, the cars manufactured in South Carolina at BMW use aluminum, which is produced in Quebec, which is the greenest aluminum in the world. That's an example of why our policies and the investment we've been driven is helping this economic security. When I said that to the governor, I must tell you should have seen, he even gave me his phone number. So that tells you about the relationship. When they see these things, they say, well, we are interdependent. We need to work together. We need to bring these investments together. We have a chance in a generation to attract investment in North America. That's what we're doing.